You, Emma,
Welcome.
welcome. Thank you so much for talking to me. Really, I'm so incredibly grateful. I'm just really amazed that people want to talk to me. That is for me. This is something really amazing because I'm asking some people with a lot of passions and a lot of journeys on their life, and they all say yes. I'm like, what? Oh, really? You want to talk to me?
Yeah, we want to talk to you, Marta. You are the light. You are, yeah. We have known each other for many years. So.
I'm asking and they're saying yes. That is amazing. But I want to introduce Emma. With Emma, we know each other from Spain many years ago.
Yeah. Well, 20 years?
Yes. 20 years ago, and we know each other from working in real estate. We say hello to everyone who is gonna watch. I'm gonna send it to a couple of people, so we say hello to everyone.
And we need to have another group call with like all the people from Spain, or
yes.
We need to meet there next year.
Yes,
we all go at the same time.
We do.
Yeah.
And so we know each other. I visit Emma in England. She lives in England, and I always admired her interior taste. She had a beautiful house. I'm probably 100% sure that she has a beautiful house now because she became an interior designer, and I'm just amazing about her journey and to see how well she's doing. So that's what I actually want to talk about with you, Emma Merry. From look, I read, and that's what caught my eye. I read on your website, a passion for interiors and an eye for style. This is so beautiful.
Yeah, well, you never know what to write on the damn website. You know, you sit down and you're like, I just wanted it to be like a simple one-liner. And when I wrote that, just wrote it in my book for a statement for a magazine article, and I was like, actually, that is me all over. It's just very simple, and that is exactly what I do. I have,
but that catches the eye because it is yours, huh?
Yeah, true.
Okay, so tell me, how was your journey? Because what I remember last, you were working for job 9 to 5, let's say, and
so my journey is not the typical journey because I am not the typical person. So I have dyslexia, which I only found out about 5 or 6 years ago. And so I'm part of that neurodiverse spectrum of people that don't find it hard to work in an academic environment. So when I was at school, I used to struggle with the academic side of things, and I feel like it pushed me down a road which basically annihilated all of my creativity because I couldn't draw. I was creative in other ways. It wasn't measurable, so I was pushed into various different things. So when I left school, I went into travel and tourism, and I worked for a Spanish airline, which Marta still thinks hilarious because I spoke no Spanish. All of my friends in Spain spoke all the Spanish, and I'd be like, see, muy bien, what she said. But I did get better towards the end. No, I was quite good. My team gave me some good little tips. And so I worked for a Spanish airline, and I basically just used that time to travel and absorbed everything from the places I went to. I went to Asia and the Middle East, and then most of Europe. I used to do these sort of trips and things. And then when I was about mid-20s, I moved to Spain with my now husband, and that's when I met Marta and a lot of my Spanish friends, and then had lots of different jobs there, and basically just used that time to absorb sort of different, it was more like cultures. That's what I think. Like when we lived in Spain, it was a big melting pot of all the different cultures, and I'm so grateful for having that at that time of my life. You know, like most of my friends were not British people, they weren't expats. You know, lots of people that came from England just stuck with the British people, but I felt like we didn't do that. There was, you know, like a group of us, and you know, Marta is Polish and her husband at the time was Dutch, and then Martini is Swiss, and then we had, you know, it was a big melting pot, and from that it was so informative to me. And I was so interested in different people's lives and how they lived and how it worked and what was normal for them, and then they found what was normal for us in their everyday life and their home and all that kind of stuff. And I just found it really, really interesting, and I developed this love of people, and I found like by talking with people, you can really make something quite beautiful. Then we moved back from Spain, and I had my children, and I went to work for a bathroom company, a very high-end bathroom company, and I was doing their PR and their events. And I used to do some of their pop-up houses, their pop-up sort of installations. And I remember we were doing one, and everything was a bit lastminute.com. And they were like, hey, you just choose. And I was like, I don't know anything about bathrooms. And I used to go to these exhibitions and they'd be like, oh yeah, no, Emma knows loads about bathrooms. I know nothing about, please don't ask me, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know any technical questions. And then I just started doing friends and family's homes. And I was like, I actually can do this. I know what I'm doing. And then the whole thing just snowballed from there. But I think my passion came through because it wasn't so much about the design side. There was two sides. The first side was the design side, but the second side was like the nosy side and getting to know people and be like, oh, I can meet loads of different people and I can find out about their lives. I think I've always been quite inquisitive to find out about other people's lives and how they live, and then how you can, sort of almost create this avatar of somebody and then work out, okay, this kind of person, this is how they live. So these are the kind of design influences that they're going to attract them. That's avatar 1, and then avatar 2, avatar 3. And that's how my mind sort of works. And then from that, I've just developed my interior design side of the business from basically meeting these different types of clients. And at that time, I would only deal with these kind of avatars that I'd set out in my mind. It's like, okay, so if you are a London person and you live in a Victorian terrace, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to like. And I didn't put a lot of my own personality into it because I wasn't brave enough, if I'm honest. I was too scared. I was like, okay, they're not going to like what I like because I'm not that kind of person. And then I remember about 3 or probably 4 years ago now, I did a lot of therapy, and I went back and looked at all my childhood and the dyslexia and everything. And I was like, you are not putting your true self out there. You are not being yourself. You need to think about who you are, and people like you for who you are. And I'd got into this habit of people pleasing with dyslexia because I was like, I can't do what everyone else can do academically. So I am just going to please them in other ways by like, oh my God, like I might not have got all the spellings and the grammar right, but I've done this amazing story and then I've presented it and I got into that way. And I'd taken that habit and I'd taken that into my working life. And I think it was like 2018, I was like, no, this has to stop. I need to just take off that mask and be like, this is who I am. This is what I do. Believe in myself and kind of put myself out there and be vulnerable, which was really hard, be honest, and see what people thought. And I had this stupid thing in my head of like, okay, I'm going to say yes to everything. And if the more it scares me, the quicker I'm going to say yes. So I remember being asked to go to an exhibition called Top Drawer and sit on a panel with a load of people that were talking about trend forecasting. Like one lady worked at a big department store, another one worked for WSGN, and then there was me. And I was like, what the actual, I'm going to have to sit on this panel. Why are they choosing me? And then I was like, no, this is really scaring you, like really scaring you. So you have to do it. And I just embraced that throughout the years. And the more it scares me, the more I do it. So we've recently just launched a podcast. And again, I was quite nervous because I was like, again, that people pleaser in me was like, do you want to speak your truth? Do you want to tell people what you really think? Because then you could get cancelled. I'm still waiting. I mean, I'm going to get cancelled. I know it happens every year. I will, I'm okay with it. But I feel like unless you put yourself on the line, and it doesn't have to be completely and utterly, because I didn't have the courage to do it initially. But I feel like that's my kind of ethos behind the business. The interior design is obviously amazing and everything we do, but I just think every single year, right, what am I going to do this year that scares me? Not physically like a bungee jump or those kind of things, but I think it's just about revealing a little bit more of who you truly are to the world and sort of where you've been in your past kind of lives and things, because I'm quite a true believer about that kind of stuff. Like,
oh, you get me there. I'm there with you. Absolutely.
Because I feel, and again, this is something that I've done a lot of work in the last couple of years. I feel like I have been here before. This is not my first roadshow. And I feel like I'm quite an old soul, I'm quite wise. And before, I was always trying to think, oh yeah, don't say that because that you're going to come across as being quite preachy and blah blah. But I'm like, no, I'm standing in my power now. I have been here before. I feel like we keep going round on having these journeys until we actually learn everything we need to learn, and then that's it. That's when we go. And I think we get paired with various different people along the way in our lives who need to learn from us. And I feel like my youngest son, is like fresh. This is his first time round. He has got a lot to learn. And that is why I had him. And I struggled with it, like that for a long time. Like, oh God, I can't deal with this child. It's a lot, blah, 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 blah. But now I'm like, actually, no, I have got him because, we're a good meeting.
That is refreshing also to see like such a young soul that you think that he's like a first time. It's like, wow, he's like probably full of life, full of like he's curious.
Exactly.
He's fresh.
That's the easiest way to explain it. He's box fresh. So yeah, I mean, sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but
no, but Emma, I listening to you, it's absolutely it. I have chills that you telling me that you are old soul. I'm old soul too. I've been here many times before, and I feel it completely. I believe in it, and what you are saying, to be brave enough to do something that is absolutely amazing. I mean.
It's not. I think it's within all of us, and I think you only hear about the people that are physically brave, not mentally brave. And I think some people, I've experienced, like even within my own family, people who struggle like with mental health issues and struggle to actually, they've gone through horrific things, and every day they're getting up and they are trying to put their best foot forward just to get out the door. That's an amazing thing. That is heroic. That's a big facing of your fears.
Absolutely.
So I don't think it's like, even for someone to start, I get messages all the time with people saying, oh, you've inspired me to start my Instagram account. And I'm like, okay, that is amazing, because that is quite hard. Or they say to me, I've done an Instagram story. Like, how do you have the courage to put your face up there? And I'm like, well, the first 2 or 3, I was crapping myself. But now I'm just like, not that I don't care, because I do. And I think that's a massive misconception of people. I don't care about what people think of me. Everybody cares about what people think of you. It's just how much you internalize that. I feel like we're a bit like an onion. We have multiple skins, and I don't let things get through to my core. Like, there's only a few people that can really get me at my core. And then I feel like, oh, there was a lesson to learn from that kind of interaction.
Absolutely amazing. And also that you're talking about people pleasing. That is so. I'm 46 years old, almost 47, and I've been people pleaser for all my life. My life, and only now since I started like this spiritual journey, I found out I'm pleasing people, and actually only now I'm coming out of it. Better late than never.
No, but don't give yourself a hard time about that, because I think that you have to do that. Like I was saying before, like you were saying, like you're an old soul, but I think maybe in other lives that this is maybe one of your last lessons to learn, and it's the hardest, and that's why you're doing it at the end. And I feel like everything is a journey. There's not a destination. That's the thing that I struggle with for such a long time. Like, oh, I'm going to be an interior designer, and when I get into this magazine, and when I get this many followers, and when I get a award-winning blah blah, then I've made it. It's not about that. It's not an A to B. It's not binary. It's a journey that flows. And
that is amazing.
You pick up something along the way, I think.
Yes, amazing that you talk about it. It's just and well, to be brave enough, to show your face. For me, this is a huge getting out of my comfort zone, that I'm recording, I'm talking to people, and I place it on Facebook or wherever, on my blog, and that I'm writing about quite a personal stuff, and I put it on the blog. That is absolutely, and I'm terrified, but I don't know if I'm terrified more about criticism or about the success, because someone told me, Marta, maybe you are afraid of success. Maybe what if it will work? What if they like you? You don't think like this. You always think, oh no, I'm gonna be criticized, they're gonna, you know,
You
push me
stand in
away.
your own way. That's one of my biggest problems. I feel like I am my own worst enemy because I stand in my way. If I can get out of my way, and
Yes.
that again is facing your fears, because it's not exactly that point. It's not rejection. It's the fact that maybe you're going to be fucking amazing. Maybe you are going to be the next best thing,
Exactly.
and that's what scares you. That's what really does scare you. But maybe that's what but it's like you say, it's a journey to get to that point, and what you're doing is it will inspire somebody else. And I think that is the true gold value, not the awards, not the best-selling podcast, not, you know, for me it's like having happy clients. The money is one thing, and you know, that's to one side, to when I get paid to do my job. But the best part for me, it sounds really cheesy, is when we just finished one project with a lovely local family, and they've got a loft extension, and they've taken up the whole thing, and they've got such a gorgeous dog and everything. And they come up there, it's like, we feel like we are going into a hotel every night. We feel so lucky that we get to call this our home, and I'm so grateful that you created it. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, okay. So that feeling, like they go up there every night, they don't feel like they're worthy for this space, is like, oh my God, you know, and I helped create that. So yeah.
Amazing.
Like
Yes, the journey, the steps that you take on the way there, there are, I think, the bigger lessons.
exactly. And I feel like every single life, like people say to me, you've had such a random like journey to, and the same for you, you know, like you think about where our lives started, and you know, I know you grew up in Poland, you spend a lot of time in the forest and like the lakes and things, and I grew up in leafy Surrey, and then we came together, and you know, in Spain, in the most plastic, fantastic world ever, where you know, people were driving Ferraris at the age of like 18, and we used to see them walking down the street in their Louis Vuitton, and we used to go around the corner and get our lunch from Mercadona and sit and eat like a sandwich. And, you know, there would be guys sitting at the table with 6 mobile phones, and like, you knew what it was about. But to us, it was all just happening around us. And it wasn't, we didn't want to be part of that world. And I think we observed that that was not real life, because we have been here before and we've seen that. Whereas I think first time rounders, or people that are of that younger mindset, they were drawn into that, like, oh, I want to get a Ferrari, I'm going to do what the guy with the 6 mobile phones is doing, and which is not good, and get a Ferrari and have a different trajectory. So I think you're like a sponge, and you pick up things from all of your experiences through life. And yeah, I think that's
okay. So what would you think that it's very important on this, like following your passion? Like, for example, you mentioned here that you have to be brave enough to, you know, to place yourself there, to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and it's hard because there is like social vulnerability where people kind of greenwash it a bit, and then they're like, you know, oh, my boyfriend's just broken up with me, I'm heartbroken, and they put it on Instagram, and then that's it, and they're like, okay, should we go now? It's like, that's not being vulnerable. But being vulnerable sometimes is a little bit just about turning up and saying, hi, I've just opened this new business, I'm making cookies, they're from my grandma's recipe, hope you like them. That is a huge step. So I think being vulnerable in that respect, but also having the faith in your own self. And if you don't have that, then try and just test the water a little bit. Start an Instagram account, just put your stuff out there. And then when you get some feedback and things start running, you have evidence to make you feel like you can combat that internal voice. So for me, every time somebody says they like the design, my internal voice then says, see, told you someone liked it. And the other guy goes, yeah, but they don't all like it. And I'm like, I don't need everyone to like it, I just need one person to like it. So be quiet. Okay, moving on.
Yes.
So you have that kind of internal voice, but also knowing that that internal voice is not you, it's somebody else. It sits above. It's not the driver of the car, it's just a part of the car. You are the driver of that car. So you almost need to control that and say, oh no, this is what I want to do. You know, I this is the direction I want to go, and this is what I truly love. I think the other good piece of advice that I got told when I first started is, it doesn't matter if the things that you want to do are random. Like if you love making cocktails, you love going to the beach, and you know, you have a love of George Michael, you can make that into a business. You just have to be passionate about it. You know, I don't do all elements of interior design, and people think it's weird that I do bathrooms because it's quite a male dominated world, and it's quite, you know,
love bathrooms.
yeah, but I actually love those elements, and I'm happy there. That's, you know, my safe space. So
Yes.
And I love talking to people. So that's why I wanted to start the podcast. So I think the more I do, the more evidence I have in my mind of, yes, this is the right direction, you are following it, and trying different things. And if it doesn't work, learning to say, yeah, that didn't work, move on. Or I'm not enjoying it. That's my latest thing. I'm like, after lockdown, I'm not doing this, you know, I'm not taking on 6 jobs just because they've approached me and they want to work with me. Do I actually like their, you know, the direction that they want to go? And can we work well as people? Are we going to get on? Because you don't get on with everybody, you know. So I think that's an important element.
Amazing. That's so much lesson for me. I mean, wow. But also you have the power to say no, because, well, we as people pleaser, we want to please everyone, and to say someone, well, listen, no, and don't even have to really explain yourself because that's what you feel. That is amazing. That's such a power in this.
The first step is, again, I read this somewhere. I do listen to a lot of podcasts, and I do lots of different kind of readings of all different genres. But what is the whole apologizing? And that's something of that people pleasers do. They apologize all the time. So I now, if I'm late in sending something, or not even late, but if I said I would send it on Friday and I send it on Monday, I'd say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, sorry is if you physically hurt someone, not if you send a late email. I say, thank you for your patience. And it's so cringy. And every time I write it, I'm like, this is so cringy, but I am thanking them for being grateful, for just holding on and blah, blah, blah. And that little step, those 3 words instead of I am sorry, I can't tell you how much it's changed my mindset.
I know.
So,
amazing. But it's also is keeping, you know, true to yourself. It's staying true to yourself. Okay, I don't have to apologize right now, but I can say, okay, listen, thank you for your patience. It's amazing.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, I think. Okay, perfect. I'm back. I'm turn this off. Right.
Oh my gosh, what a conversation!
I feel like there's a lot to cover.
That's a lot to cover, you know, because tell me about your if you of course want to share, tell me about your therapy, because I'm entering new therapy. I already followed a couple of therapies, so it is really interesting for me to see other perspectives. Why did you choose to follow the therapy? What was the did you have enough? What was the
I think lots of different things happened in my early 30s. My parents divorced. My mum had a breakdown. She couldn't cope with it. She was sort of on the point of taking her own life. I had a terrible birth with my first son. We had to have an emergency cesarean. He nearly died. I nearly died. All that, blah, blah, blah. And I came out of that and I was like, Jesus H. Christ, if I can get through this, I can get through anything. But I was like, I don't feel like the same person I was before I went through all of this. And I feel like there was so much to unpack. And I got to that point where I explained it to the therapist lady, who's actually someone I used to work with, who events world for a bit. And she was always so good at talk. We used to do conferences together, and we always used to talk. And I used to say to her, you are a therapist in waiting. You're so good. You're so open. And she was the other person that put me on to the idea of like, I was an old soul and that I had all this stuff. And I just said to her, I feel like I'm a bloody elevator and I'm got so many boxes shoved in. I feel like if the door's open, everything's going to fall out. And she was like, yeah, what if it does fall out? And I was like, it can't fall out. I said, we've got to keep it in. We've got to stack the boxes. We've got to rearrange it. She was like, no. She said, you don't have to have a tidy elevator, and stuff can fall out. She said, actually, maybe you've only tidied the front section of the elevator and there's another light switch. And when you turn that switch on, there's more boxes and there's more boxes and there's more boxes. And it literally blew my mind. I was like, wow. there's
that's a new perspective.
Yeah, exactly. So I started working. She obviously, then we lost touch, and then when I had all that stuff happen, and then I lost a baby, and I was talking to her, and obviously she was doing her course and stuff, and I just said to her, where do I start with all of this? And she just said, we'll just start. She said, we'll just open the elevator door. She said, we can shut it again, it's fine, don't be worried, but let's just take one box out. Like, this is quite a metaphorical thing. She said, let's get it out and let's actually look at everything and each item and say, do you want to put it back in the elevator, or are you happy with it? You accept it and it can go. And we worked through that process for about, on and off, for about 3 years, and doing different kind of elements of it. And some of it was around like childhood acceptance, and everything goes back to your childhood. But I always used to find that a cliche, like, oh, everything goes back to your childhood. But it's true, because it's where you were made, good or bad, right or wrong. It's not a binary experience. It shouldn't be one thing. It is what it is. It makes you who you are. And you have to, kind of accept that. So that process did make me accept, my crazy family.
Everybody has a crazy family. Don't worry about it. You're not the only one.
But then I think,
I love my family.
I'm going to be the crazy family. That's for my kids. I'm going to be the crazy family. Okay.
You know what? Now I am the crazy, because I went into like a different stuff. It's like, oh, are you in a sect or something? I'm like, no.
Yeah,
I have also my boxes, and now I'm unpacking every one of them.
And it's really hard, isn't it? It's really hard to do. And I think unless you start doing a lot of self, exploration, or whatever that word is, unless you start sort of looking at yourself, how do you even know where you want to go? Like, you don't have a map, you're just bumbling around in the dark. And like I said to you, unless you have fixed points to sort of take you on your way markers for your journey, you're just going to be bumbling around. You could be going around in a circle, and I think that's what lots of people are. They're just chasing their tail.
It's just like a leaf from the tree, whenever it blows, okay, there you go.
Exactly, where the wind will take you, which in a way is quite a nice way to be, but I think you have to have some kind of direction, and it comes from obviously within. So yeah, we did all that kind of therapy and stuff, and then I had sort of became a bit more happy with where I come from, and unpacked a lot of those boxes. And then I just sort of said to her, oh, I feel like the elevator's like empty now, and like I don't have anything, I'm just me, and I'm just me. And she was like, again, okay, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with just being you? I'm like, well, I'm just me. That's not enough. I need to be something else.
Enough.
Exactly. And that was the key word. She was like, you are enough. You now you have to accept who you are and be comfortable with that, because until you're comfortable with it, you can't put it out there. And yeah, that was the next step. And that's when I sort of bravely started a side hustle with my interior design when I was working, and putting myself out there on social media and that kind of stuff, whilst juggling the kids and all that kind of going to events and doing all those kind of things. And I think that counseling put me in good, or that therapy put me in good stead, because when I met other people who I thought were being mean and saying mean things, I was just like, she taught me this really good trick of, it's basically just a mirror. When they are mean, you just have to think, they are feeling very sad. This is how they're projecting their feelings outwards. So it made me have this compassion for people that were mean and that would say horrible things, and not horrible things, but like online, I get loads of people say, oh, you need Botox, because I've got quite a, curly head, and, all these things like, oh, who do you think you are? And blah, blah, blah. And like I said to you before, I feel sorry for those people, because I'm like, you're obviously not happy with yourself, so you feel like you have to come on and say these things. I don't take it personally anymore. I'm like, it's not about me, it's a reflection of you. And I know that's quite a cliche, but that took quite a while to sort of accept. I feel like it's different layers of acceptance. So that's the therapy really helped me on that side of things, but also made me feel like I was enough. I didn't have to people please to make things happen, in that respect. And like like you say, we've known each other for a long time. I don't think we were hugely people pleasers in that respect, because Moto was a tough boss. She'd be like, no, Emma, we need to do this. I'd be like, okay. And vice versa. But I think on a bigger level, we probably took things that we shouldn't have taken, and done things that we shouldn't have done in our life. And yeah, if you could go back and tell Marta, who was 25, what would you tell her?
Oh, that is a very good question. First of all, don't please people, because it gets you nowhere. Just, if you feel that you want to say no, say no. If just stand by you by yourself, because yeah, that's difficult. I would say her so many things.
But would you change her?
I wouldn't change anything in my life.
No.
Because what I experienced during my life, on my journey, it took me where I am today and who I am today. I had to go through those things. I had to go through the divorce. I had to go through all the shit. I had to be alone. Even now, after my last relationship, I had to stay alone to see what I can discover in myself. So all those patterns that I'm repeating all my life, especially in private relationships, and I think it would never get me through that point that I will be able. I would think of myself that I'm good enough to write something and place it on a blog, or talk with Emma and place it on somewhere for people to watch and to maybe inspire someone. So I would never be in that point. And I had such a nice experiences in my life, not only the bad one, because I don't want to think about experience in my life as bad, because every experience brings you some lesson.
Exactly.
Even if it's hard, even if, as you said, you lost a child, I lost a child, the pregnancy, those things teach you so much. And the birth of my 2 kids, everything in life, you think, okay, this is bad, but if I'm looking actually at my life and all those bad situations, bad experiences, I think, wow, I'm thankful for that. I'm actually truly thankful for all of this. It doesn't matter how bad it is. And so I would only maybe change, just like I said, I'm a pleaser, and that's so tiring, so bloody tiring.
And I do not feel like if you hadn't have had that time of pleasing, and you had have just gone out there and say you weren't Marta the people pleaser, and you stood your ground, you did your thing, and you were still in the same place, would you think you'll be looking back now thinking, oh, had I been a people pleaser, I still would have had this job, or I still would have had this life, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So do you not feel like it's not right or wrong, or it's good to be a people pleaser, or it's bad to be a people pleaser? It's just that it's part of your journey, and it's one of your learnings that you haven't learned in the last few lives, and this is the last kind of thing to learn.
Yeah, I'm also convinced that I'm breaking the chain now. I'm breaking that like a chain of our ancestors.
Yeah.
that I think a lot of women in my past were repeating. I'm the one to break it, because I don't know if you see by it yourself. I don't know how is your that was also my question. How is your how do you get with your family now? Because when I started the therapy and everything, like in my spiritual journey, I see so much better the connection with my kids, with people around me. Do you see it?
100%, yeah. And I feel like, again, I have this empathy that I didn't have before. Exactly. For why they do the things they do and why they're in the place that they are, because they're just victims of their circumstance, and they've never had this kind of, not awakening, like it sounds, I'm gonna stand in that power. I'm gonna say, yeah, they haven't had this kind of awakening of conscious where it's like, okay, maybe they only know what they've only been taught, like.
It's also been said that our parents, for example, they only could give us what they got themselves from their parents.
That's what I was trying to explain.
Go back.
Yeah, so that was where I was trying to go with this. It's like they can only act on what they have been shown. And I go back over the generations, and obviously you go back to my grandparents' generation, and they had to deal with like war, like full-on war. And my neighbor now, sadly, both my grandparents have gone, but my next door neighbor, Valerie, she's 93. And bless, she's the loveliest person in the world. And so she comes around for tea sometimes, and I always talk to her, and she always jokes, and she said, I think you are my friend that got bombed, she always said, I think you were, and you've been and gone. I said, yeah, because the war side of things really resonates with me, and it really upsets me, and I feel like it's a part of my core. I feel like I was part of it, and there was something that happened there, and I am so thankful. And I remember writing in, I do a gratitude diary, and I remember saying to the kids that when we had the COVID, everybody was up in arms like, oh my God, it's COVID. And I was like, I don't understand what you are worrying about. There is no war. I was like, we are safe in our homes. We are safe in our beds. We have enough food to eat. You know, it's the sun is shining. We have a garden. You know, we are bloody lucky. You think about Valerie, and you know, when there were bombs raining on people's heads, and the awful stuff that's going on in Ukraine. You know, I think that our grandparents had to deal with stuff that was a completely different level. You know, they weren't thinking about feelings and journeys. They were like thinking, how do I keep my kids safe? How do I keep them fed? And I think that has then had a knock-on effect because they were emotionally closed down. So when our parents, obviously their children, they didn't have that emotional support. They learned a little bit more. Then to us, they thought they were great because they were there every day, you know, making us tea, and we didn't have to have rations. You know, they were just like, oh, well, you know, you've had 3 bacon sandwiches this week. Do you know how when I was a kid to get a bacon sandwich was a nightmare? Oh, you know, all those kind of things. So I think it's our generation's responsibility as like second generation, I want to say like normal lives or 21st century living. We've had all of our basic needs catered for. You know, we have a safe world ish. You know, we have a safe home. We don't have to worry about food, electric, all those kind of things.
Yes.
And so now we're going down to the next level, which is our emotions and our feelings. But I feel like that should have been a top level thing. No matter all the other stuff, doesn't matter how much money you have or how many followers you have on Instagram, or if you're really following your passion. It's about living your truth. I feel like I've got a bit spiritual. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, we did. It's still conversation about passion, you know, because I think dealing with all those things, it's also my passion, because I'm in it like for 5 years already, and from all kinds of different. First was more personal, now it's more spiritual. So this is all passion. But what I also noticed, Emma, that that period of COVID was such a great, I mean, I know a lot of people lost lives and I know a lot of people suffered, but on the other hand, if we look at it, we stopped. I don't know, I have this feeling that we start thinking more with you know what's going on in our heads, how we are being brought to this world, what just a little bit more busy with our emotions and all that. Don't
I think we became less singular and more active as a tribe and as a community, which I think is what we should all be doing. Even I think that's one of the things that our grandparents did do well. You know, like where my grandparents lived, they knew everybody on the street, everybody worked together, used to pick the kids up from school together. It was like a community thing. And on our street, it is still very much like that. And we are very much, I'm an instigator of it. You know, like the kids play with the other kids across the road, and I look after Valerie next door. But it's very rare. It doesn't happen because people are like, well, why should I? I'm busy. It's like, no, you don't realize. And again, with the whole taking this to a bigger level, like the global warming, people are, oh, there's nothing we can do. I'm like, but if everybody thinks like that, you know, there is something we can do. We all need to do a little something. And again, if that's just a little act of kindness, in terms of, I follow Choose Love, one of the big immigration things about people coming over. And last year there was a tragedy in the UK where people came over and 11 people drowned in from crossing from France. And you know what was front page in the newspaper that day? Some influencer had said something, and these poor people were 7th page, never been mentioned. And I was like, they are human beings. They are lives that have been lost on our waters. And, you know, we have a huge immigration problem, and they're just sending them. They decide they're going to send them off to Rwanda and it's like they're treating them like trash. They are people. We are all people. And, you know, and
everybody wants to survive, isn't it?
Exactly. And you can't help where you're born, you know, and why? Because you have a British passport or that you're treated completely differently. I just feel like we need to all start thinking as one big community as opposed to individuals. And that goes back to my point of why I think it worked so well when we lived in Spain, because we didn't see each other for our nationalities. We didn't stick within our,
people,
you didn't stick with, there was a big, Dutch community there. You didn't stick within that. I didn't stick within the British, So I feel like that kind of is our natural way of being. That's why I feel like we've always been a bit different, and we have been here before because we didn't fall into that trap. So that was like the first hurdle. The first hurdle was, do you stick with your tribe? Like, do you stick with just the English people at that age? No, we didn't. We'd been here before. We know that we're a community. We look outside of our box. So I feel like that's the first learning that we've had in life. But I feel like it needs to be made bigger and go onto a global level, and everybody needs to start small with your neighbor, exactly. Those kind of things, I feel like.
Super. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful said, really. Amazing. Oh, you're such an amazing person. I didn't speak to you for like 20 years. Come on, what happened?
Life just gets busy.
But what do you think we can give to our kids? Because I see also, I don't know if you, because your kids are, your first son is 13, my daughter is 14. And I see such a difference what I can give her now, being on my way, being on my journey. I can give her so much more. She sees in me such a big change also, and we can talk easy. We have a very good connection, and with my son also, I feel that I can give him so much more of taking the pressure out of them. Respecting them as a people, not your child, you don't know anything. Like I was raised in those kind of what do you know?
Exactly.
But what do you think we can give to our kids? Do you think?
My biggest gift is just honesty. I am 100% honest with them. Like when they ask me questions, I tell them. I may take off some of the harsh edges in certain situations, but and like we were saying before about the schoolwork and stuff, they're doing their best, and I had a meeting with the school last week about my youngest son, and the teacher started off telling me about the scores and the grades, and I just like, look, stop. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I said, I just want to know where he's struggling and how we help him. I said, I'd rather talk in that way than grades and numbers and figures and blah, blah, blah. I said, because it doesn't mean anything to me. You're comparing him to another child. But you're comparing an apple to a banana. They are both fruit, but they are completely different. And that's that's the kind of thing that I try and say to the children. Like, there are these horrible things that are happening in the world, but you can make a difference just by doing these small things and just by trying to be kind and speaking your truth. If you see something that you don't agree with, speak up, which is, kind of difficult, but but it only leads from example, and
exactly.
I think I'm coming across as quite self-righteous. Believe me, I do say things that I shouldn't actually say to the kids. Like they'll come home and say, "Oh, Jack did this," and I'm like, "Oh, I hope you told him that was bloody stupid and what an idiot he was." And I'm like, "Okay, no, Mummy doesn't mean that. What she means is," but again, that's like a truth, because I'm not going to go, "Oh, okay, well that was sad, and how are his feelings?" And we unpack it later. But I feel like I'm quite real with them, whereas like you say, I feel that lots of parents don't have that relationship because they are saying to them, well, we'll talk about that later. How did you get on with your maths test? Did you get an A? Why didn't you get an A? Blah 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 blah. Because
why not better?
Yeah, exactly. Because in 10 years' time, that shit doesn't mean anything.
Nothing doesn't matter. No,
it doesn't. It really doesn't.
There's no bullshit.
It's like you have to jump through the hoops, but at the end of the day, you need to be a rounded person. And I feel like the only way you get that is by having life experiences and talking and meeting with as many people as possible. Like I believe we all have these little bits of DNA and we're all connected. And every time we meet, we interchange our little pieces of information. Like I have a filing cabinet. Like today, something from my filing cabinet has gone into your filing cabinet and vice versa. And that makes us who we are. And I think that's part of the journey again. We're picking up pieces as we go. And not just from people, from nature and the world. We absorb all those kind of things. And
Absolutely.
I've gone very woo-woo. I'm sorry.
No, this is like, wow, the best conversation ever. No. Go there, girl. I just give you the space. No, it is all beautiful. I learned so much from talking to you. This is amazing. But where do you see yourself in the 20 years? Well, let's say 10. Let's say 10.
With a lot of Botox.
No, don't.
Mocha. Hi, Mocha.
No. We have to be able to move our face, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
We look good.
Yeah, we do look good.
We do.
Not like we did 20 years ago, but you know.
No, we look better.
We look better mentally. Yeah, our elevators are clear. Do you know what? I was thinking about this question because I remember when I left one of my jobs when I did events, and I remember the month before I left, randomly the guy said to me, so we had this like meeting and my boss, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I literally had wanted to say not here because I hate this job, but what came out of my mouth was, oh, I see myself in your position, I want your job. And I was thinking like, I remember thinking I don't want to work here, but why did I say that? Because I was people pleasing, because that is what he wanted to hear, and that was what he had in front of him in his paperwork, because that was the trajectory that he could give me. So I gave him the answer that he wanted to hear, even though internally I was like, I don't want to work here. It was fun. I used to travel around the world, do exhibitions. It was great. It was really good fun, and I loved it at the time, but there's no way I wanted to do that. I wanted to go somewhere else. So the answer where I see myself in 20 years is, I don't know. I just hope that I don't have a fixed destination, because like you say, I don't feel like I'm on a trajectory to get here. All I can hope is I can tell you how I want to be feeling in 20 years time is probably a better way of sort of, describing it. I just hope I feel like I have had more learnings, because I feel like every time I learn something, it's painful, but I enjoy it. It's almost like that kind of self-harm. I'm like, I want to do a little bit more. I want to do a little bit more self-exploration. And I just feel like I hope I get to go and have more real life experiences. Like, because obviously my children are still fairly youngish, so we haven't really done a lot of exploring with them. It's been fairly traditional holidays, which again, I'm grateful for those kind of experiences. But I think worldwide experiences where I get to actually show them culture, because I really want to take them to, like Cambodia and go to the floating village and do all those kind of things, and actually for me to learn and for them to learn at the same time. That would be my ideal dream, for us to go and do something like South America that I've never done before, they've never done before. Both of us had the same experience. Okay. To me, that is like, wow, that would completely blow my mind. So I think if I've got the mental capacity and the financial capacity to do that in 20 years time, and I truly don't believe I will be doing interior design in 20 years. I feel like this is my thing for now, and I'll take that creativity and I'll move it into something else that I am enjoying at the time. But whatever I do, I will do it like 1,000 miles an hour. That's one of my down. Like, I'm not very good at just dabbling. I have to go all in. Like, okay, I've done that. Like when I did exhibitions, I used to do huge exhibitions for oil and gas, like 8 halls in Abu Dhabi. And I remember being like 6 months pregnant, and like they were moving cars in. I'd be like, yeah, like with the headset, yeah, car can go in. Yep, that's good. That can go in. And I was like, okay, yeah, I feel like I've done this and I've done it properly. Tick. Okay. But yeah, so I feel like as long as I'm feeling in that way, that I've still got more to learn and to give, then I will be in a happy place. It's not a physical destination, it's more of a mental destination. Wow. And what about you? Why do you want
the same? I think I don't have actually now I'm doing what I'm doing now. I think this will teach me a lot. I believe in the process. I believe that there is something for me, whatever it is. I don't take it as bad, as good, whatever it is, I'm taking it.
It's right for you.
Yes. At this moment, I think, I have this feeling that everything what happens in our life, it's supposed to happen in now and this place, this time. And that also it is given to us, whatever we can carry, actually, I feel like we never get something that we cannot actually carry. I have that feeling that I'm strong enough now to deal with that whole situation. After the breakup and after the difficulties, I can manage now. I can see the lesson finally. Finally, I can see the lesson. I can move on. So I just very much trust the process, whatever it brings me, and whatever it takes me. I will enjoy those steps. I'm so much enjoying talking to people now. I think this is just amazing.
But that's your superpower, Marta. You have that.
That is my superpower right now.
It's your superpower, honestly. But it always has been. You can empathize with people on every level and every. I mean, there isn't a bloody language she doesn't speak, which is so annoying. She speaks all the languages, and then she just picks another one up like that. Oh yeah, I learned Korean at the weekend. Oh right, great. There's me, por favor. But I think that is your superpower, because you learn it so quickly, because you want to communicate, because you want to connect. Very much. I think that's your superpower. So lean into that, like connections.
When I started also writing the blog, and I said in my first post, okay, it's in Polish, I can send you I can Google Translate, but I said it in my
first translate.
I don't know if someone will read me. I have no idea. And your mind is oh yeah, but who's gonna watch you? Who's gonna read you? Nobody's gonna. Where are you gonna have the time? And it comes like how.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Now I'm writing. Go to sleep, because I wrote my first post of 1 o'clock at night. I woke up and it just came to me. Write a blog. It's like, okay, wait a minute. I write a blog. And it said to me so many, negative, yes, but when you're going to do it, you have 2 kids, you are alone, and you have to take care of this. No, stop. Yeah. I'm writing now, whatever it comes, and I'm putting it online. I made my own website. I put everything in this, and that is what I'm feeling from my heart, whatever it brings me. And
exactly
my journey is, I'm just
and I think
for that moment.
The best thing you've said there is the fact that you have almost given yourself to whatever happens, because if you try to control it, like so many people have said to me, oh, so what are you going to do with the podcast? Are you going to get a sponsor? Are you going to do a show? Like that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, that's a bit stupid. Why have you not got a plan? I'm like, because I don't know. I want to feel my way, and what I'm enjoying, I want to be able to be fluid and it to move and talk about conversations I want to talk about. Yeah. Again, with social media, I don't work with brands to be sponsored, because I don't want someone else telling me what direction to go in, and I might have to say something that I don't actually believe in, and it's to my own detriment, because I could make a lot of money by saying this mug set is amazing, it's from handmade in Portugal, and you buy 6, I do you a discount, but it's not authentic to me, and I don't feel right in doing that. And I think that is my ethos in everything that I do. I want to be genuine and authentic, and it's taken a long time to really feel that. But I think that's the same as you. You're coming across as being very genuine and very authentic. Like, you're doing this because it's your passion and you want to help people. And I think people that will watch this will genuinely see our energy and think, no, they're not doing this because there's some sort of monetary transaction, or there's I'll get your followers, you'll get my followers. Yeah. That's not what it's about. It's a higher level.
My feeling is, if I can inspire at least one person to go and look into himself, and start the journey and live better, because you can live better. I know that. Then for me, this is a huge success. Really, I mean, one person, and what happened will happen. I mean, and
by everyone, you will get 10. Because they will tell someone else, and it's a snowball effect. You just have to put it out there. No, you do. You have to just put it out there, and
yeah. But so, as you said, I have no idea what to do with all the I just started the sponsor. I have no idea what they're talking about, and it doesn't really. I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing this to give something, give something back, because I got so much from the world that I want to give back. I want to inspire people to at least, to look.
So do you think that's the last part of your journey, is to inspire people? And because you say you've been here before, but do you think that's one of your last learnings? Because it's a bit I know a lot of the Buddhist teachings are around like journeys and you know, and picking things up and learning things as you go, and they're like the last one is almost like acceptance, and this is what we're here to do, and then to educate people, and then that's it, then you've finished your kind of journey. You come back as a new soul.
I think it's like a no ending. If it, I don't think it will end with me.
No.
I have that feeling that I'm just breaking. I'm here. My soul is here.
It's middle-aged. You're a middle-aged soul. You're not a new soul.
Yes.
You're a middle point soul.
Yes. But I'm here to break the pattern, to break the chain, to finish something. And from now on, I think whoever takes whatever my soul, because I think the soul gift is just my soul chose my body to be to do something, to experience something. But I think whatever it goes further, it will be easier. It will be something. This is no end. This is no ending with me. You know, with my death. I think it's going to be further. I want to believe that.
Oh, it's so exciting! Yeah, so exciting.
I know. This is yeah. Well, where can we listen? Well, where can I listen your podcast? Tell me.
Okay, now we're going to #ad. So we have the podcast. It's called The Layers of Design and Life. It is on Apple and it's on Spotify, and we've got I'll send you a link and you can put it in your show notes or whatever it is. And we have 3 episodes, and the premise of it is to talk about interior design. We interview other makers, so people that make fabrics, people that make lighting, all those kind of stuff. But there is an undertone of general sort of life in questions. So it's with my sister who interviews me, and we have lots of different questions, which again is quite controversial because she has nothing to do with interior design. You know, that's not her background. But again, it's just a conversation that we feel comfortable having, and we have it a lot. And I feel like we both bring a different element to the table. So yeah, I think we're hoping to do this. We've just finished this season, the 6 episodes. So I think we're on episode 4 now, and the first sort of 3 or 4 are mainly, like I say, about interior design, and the last 2 come the more elements of life. We're talking a little bit about what I was saying with creative types and how they're not valued in the current educational system, and unless you can be physically creative like an artist or, you know, a maker, then you know, there isn't, they don't know what to do with you. You're like, over there. So it's almost like you have to work your way through that system. And like I said about being a people pleaser, that's what we were talking about in that episode. And then other episodes, we're talking about how we feel like creativity in terms of designing products is something that's massively undervalued in society, that people don't want to pay for that. It's almost seen as like you're a creative, it's a secondary job. When you're going to go and work at an accountancy firm and get a real job, you know, that kind of thing. So I feel like it's getting better, but we've got a lot of work to do. So yeah, it's good. And then hopefully next year, the 2nd season, we're going to have an event in real life, which will be in London. So you need to come.
Tell me when. I'm traveling. Hopefully
it'll be in March, because again, the reason I want to do that is not for, I don't know, whatever other reason. It's just because I want people to be able to talk face to face. I want to get people's energy together, and I want to have a really good conversation. I think it'll be really fun. So, and I think the design side of things is something that stretches and spans all cultures. It's not just something, we're just talking about British design or American design or European design. Everybody meshes together. So I feel like it's a good melting pot. So hopefully I might do something in March. I think when the weather gets better, it's not like raining vile. Although it's quite nice today. So,
in Belgium is very nice.
Yeah, exactly. We have the same weather. So yeah. So that's the kind of plan with the podcast. But I will put it up there and give it a listen, see what you think. It's 20 minutes. We don't bang on for hours. There's no adverts as well. Thank God. I hate it when you get adverts. Like, we're not sponsored by anyone. So it's just literally what we think, how we create our designs and our process, really.
Great. Wow. Emma. Awesome. So nice talking to you. I hope
Oh, so nice.
our
Thank
last
you.
conversation. I hope I can invite you one more to go into deep into our spiritual journeys. And
I just think this is such an amazing thing that you're doing as well, and I'm so grateful that you asked me to be part of it. I feel very privileged because I think it's a big step for anybody, and I think to be part of your journey is I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you
Very
so
honored.
much. Thank you. And well, we'll talk. We'll finish now, but we'll talk.
All right, my love.
All the best, really, with your interior designer and your spiritual journey. And we'll see each other. Thank you so much. Thank you.